William, thank you for coming on the Ones to Watch show. It's a pleasure to have you on, and it does feel a little strange knowing that I know Anthony quite well, and this is kind of your time to shine now by you coming on the show and talking about what your journey's been into this sport. And I don't think a lot of people really know what your journey's been into this sport, barring the interviews you've done previously. I don't think people really know, do they? So this is a really good opportunity for you to sort of express that and tell everybody what the story is. So we all know your brother, Anthony $1 Million Crolla, but what's your story? What was your journey into this sport?
No, like you say, it's a pleasure being on here as well, but like anyone, like Joe might be for people, the brothers went football, they go football with them, and my brother went boxing, so that's what I did. I went to the gym with it, and to become a role model, there's a good age gap between me and Anthony. I think there's, said that, 11 years. So when I was that 8, 9, 10 age, he was at the high-end teens, do you know what I mean? So as a young man, so I'd want to do what he was doing, and I remember I went up into the gym and the Air Fox on there. Was it in Ancourt Centre? It might have been just moved to Newtonheath. I think it moved to Newtonheath. I remember just going with him, and then just kept going with him, and then just become obsessed, and then I had my first bout at 11. First bout at 11, and yeah, since then I was just hooked all the way through school and everything. And then ended up having 40 fights. I done well, I got far in all the schoolboys and things, but I never got in the book, so it just disheartened me in the end. And then I stopped training hard because I was quite well. I feel like I'm talented. I'm a talented boxer. And, I used to stop training hard, and I'd beat these good kids, just not doing that. But then it caught up with me when I got a bit older, so I sacked off for a bit, and that's the worst thing I did. And then, like you said, I had years away from the sport. I had best part of, I was never out of the gym, but at one point I went 15.5 stone, you know what I mean? I'm fighting at 10 stone 7. Next fight is it's a big difference. 5 stone.
Why was that? Why did you sort of walk away from it? What was it that sort of turned you away at that point?
Like with anything in amateur boxing, decisions, and I was at this mad thing of boxing for England, and that's the thing that's all I was ever asked about, and then just getting no luck. I was getting no luck. I was getting beat 8-7 in national finals, national semis 3-4 times, and I just thought, it's just not for me. This it's just, I'm just getting no luck, and I just stopped.
You had an accomplished amateur career though, haven't you? Like you've had, like you said to me, 40 fights. So that's quite a lot, because some people don't even transition to professional with more than like sometimes 10, 15. Yeah. So you've got a lot of experience. Why was it the natural thing for you to do then, to turn pro?
No, it was, but I've always had a better pro style. But like you say, when I first come back to boxing, I had no I say that, but even when I was working on a building site and stuff like that, I was like, when I was that weight, 15 stone, I still had the vision in my head that I'll fight pro. I thought it'll come one day. And it sounds mad like that. I just knew there was something else for me when I was waking up for work and that, and then I come back just to shift some weight. Then, like, when you're hitting the pads, I started getting sharp on the pads again then. And then Anthony's like, do you want to move around? And I was like, I'll spar with someone, yeah. And then I started sparring again, and then just the bug hit me straight away again. It's just like all them years that I missed it just come rushing back, and I think I needed time away from boxing them years as well. I grew up in other places as well, stuff I needed to do, and yeah, it did me good.
So I suppose the elephant in the room with this conversation is, with Anthony being your brother, with Anthony being as successful as he became in the sport, naturally people are gonna look to you and already sort of maybe tie you with that brush and think, well, is he going to achieve anything? Is he going to achieve half of what Anthony did? Is he going to exceed what Anthony did? So you growing up watching him get to the heights that he eventually got to in his career, what was that like for you as a brother and as someone that was also involved in the sport?
Being part of Anthony's career is one of the best things I could ever imagine. Like, they're probably the best nights of my life just for that. But the pressure that it brings with I had it as a kid, 12, 13, 14, and like people not like that did stay behind and watch because I was Anthony's brother and I was supposed to be good. But it's pressure I always liked, and even in my debut, like I didn't feel one tiny ounce bit of pressure from anyone else. The only pressure I'd feel is from myself, just because I've set very high standards and I'm very competitive, and that's the only pressure I'd ever feel. But back to being part of Anthony's journey, it's priceless in boxing. Do you know what I mean? Like you can't do something to like experience something like that. Like not it don't faze me. Like I say, my debut at the arena, my second fight in 7 years, I wasn't one bit fazed by that because I've been to the biggest nights I've seen there with Anthony. Like I know it wasn't me fighting, but I've seen that, and not the crowd's nothing new to me, or the cameras surrounding something's nothing new to me. Like I felt at home there.
Yeah.
And I do feel at home there, and I think it'll help me massively. I
was going to say, do you think that's kind of prepared you for what's going to come throughout your career? And it's good to kind of hear that you feel like there's no pressure on you. You don't feel the pressure anyway, because I know it's usually outside influences that kind of put that pressure on you. You know, it's people within the media, it's other outlets that will sit there and say, oh, how good is Will going to be? Is he going to be as good as him? As I said before, is he going to exceed him? So straight away, you're automatically put into that bracket of, are you going to exceed what Anthony did? So the pressure's kind of put there from other people, but it's good to hear that not necessarily yourself. So for you, having that experience, being around the big nights of Anthony's career, do you feel like it's just going to be a straightforward transition for you when you get to them heights? Because I know that you've had your debut at the arena, you've got your next fight on the Jack Catterall and Jorge Linares undercard, so you've got another good opportunity to be under those bright lights and having that experiences on a bigger build. So does that faze you in any way whatsoever?
Nah, not in the slightest. Like I thrive off it. Like I'm very lucky, and that's another thing where I get with the second name, I get opportunities like that, but not just off that though, because I do well with tickets, but and I can't thank them people enough. But nights like that, I feel like that is me. Like I feel like them big shows, I've always thought I was going to get on them. I've said it in an interview before, I thought it'd be off my own back through what I've done in the amateurs, but that path didn't lead that way, and so I got on it another way. But everything's worked out right, and yeah, I feel I'll always belong on them and I'll always be on them.
It's going to be an experience for you to go down this journey, because like you said, you've tried to do it the traditional way. You've tried to do it without having to have any influence from your brother's career, and for one reason or another it doesn't always work out for fighters to do that. And then you've gone out of boxing for a period of time, you've come back to it, and now it's kind of like actually full steam ahead. Anthony's got his gym where we're sat recording this now, and he's got, you know, his professional fighters that he's training alongside you, and it feels like it's all starting to come together a little bit more now.
Yeah, of course it is. Like not like that. If I somehow let professional boxing slip away from my hands, when my older brother's, like say, he's got his own gym, it's a professional coach, the gym's 10 minutes away from my house. If I could ever let professional boxing slip away from me with an opportunity like that, like it's at my feet, do you know what I mean? Then I just feel like everything, it happens for a reason, and yeah, and I've took it, and I plan on taking it far.
So going back to your transition to professional, and after being out of the ring as an amateur for so long, what was that transition like, and what was the experience like in that first fight? Because I know it wasn't essentially the dream debut that most fighters would like to have on their first professional fight, was it?
No, but do you know what? I had one the year before. I had one amateur back. It's like I had to prove to Anthony I was being serious, because I'd said, like, he'll say how many, like, you could ask him how many comebacks do they have. I had about 36. I'm not even lying. I'd get fit and I'd just go and disappear again. I'd just go partying again, and I come back and I had to prove, I was like, that I wanted it. Like, so I'd not boxed then in 7 years. So my first fight in 7 years, it was again at the night about her amateur, just done well in the ABAs. A good kid, I speak to him now still, we're friends with him now. And I got beat. I got beat not on the facts of it was better than me because he won. I said to him, it was just the pace of the fight. Like, he burst my lungs because I've not boxed for 7 years.
Yeah.
But I said to him, when I learnt enough there, like, I went, like, I'm serious. Like, I want it. Like, I'm hungry. Like, I'm not messing about. And he must just shown from that, and it did. So then, like you say, no, it wasn't the ideal debut. I thought it was going well until I slipped in the third and Steve Craig gave it a knockdown. But Steve's a good ref. He was very close, and if that didn't happen, I believe I would have got him out of there that first thing, and it would have been a dream debut. He got a big rest then, and I thought he'd done well to see the final bell in the fourth as I was putting, I was stepping on the gas. But in a weird way, I look back at it as a blessing. Like, I've been, well, in hindsight, I took account. I know what it's like. Like, hopefully I don't have to take another one, but if it does, there'll be no panic stations. There'll be none of that. So in hindsight, it's a bit of a blessing as well.
Yeah, to have that adversity straight away in your career is, you know, there's no point of having 10, 15 fights and not having any level of adversity, because eventually you're in a dangerous sport. Eventually you're going to come across it at some point or another. So to have it early on is probably better, so that you can think, right, do you know what, okay, I know what I need to do to change now. I know what I need to do to make sure that doesn't happen or get me in that situation anywhere near that again. Yeah.
It's exactly that. It's all about learning, and I've said it in many interviews and I'll keep saying it as well. Another thing is I don't just want to fight duck eggs. I want good learning fights, and I want people who want to come and try and beat me for the second name I invite them to, because that's when you'll see the best of me, and I honestly believe that.
So do you think that going through your career, the best thing for you would be to continuously step up? Because I know some fighters will automatically be given 5-10 fights, and they'll face UK journeyman, Eastern European journeyman, and they will get a level of progression, but it's not always the progression that essentially they need. So what you're saying here is that, look, do you know what? I'll take them fights. If Anthony, I'm sure if he feels you're ready for that step up, he's going to say, do you know what, take that step up now. What's the point of waiting around?
I'd never shy away from fighting anyone, but like you say, will they have to fight a few more journeymen properly just for the craft? But I will never ever shy away from a step up, and I believe that's when you'll see the best in me. Like, when someone's coming at me to win as well, because I'll land, and I believe I'm very heavy-handed, and like, you'll know with any combat sport, you land when the other person's throwing, not just there to survive. You're not just trying to open a nutshell, do you know what I mean? If the shell's already open and they're throwing back, that's when you both land, and I believe that's when you'll see the best of me, yeah.
So you got your fight on the 21st of October. It's your second professional fight. We're going in there on that undercard that I mentioned earlier, and it's another nice night for you to be on. And it must feel a little bit weird as well, because obviously Jorge is fighting Jack Catterall on the same card, and you know, it must be it must be nostalgic a little bit. Like, I mean, it feels like, for me, and I'm not in your circle, I look at it from the outside and think, I can't believe Anthony's brother is fighting on the same card, and Jorge Linares is still there, and he's battling away, and he's fighting Jack, and it just feels kind of weird. And there'll be some sort of like reunion, won't there, between Anthony and Jorge, and then you're obviously around as well.
Of course, I've got a picture on my phone. I'll have to get it up, but yeah, it is weird. As last time I seen him, he left his heart broke. He just took Anthony's world title and then defended it against him. But he's a great fighter. He's one of the best fighters I've ever watched live. Unfortunately, the live was against Anthony the second time. I thought his performance that night was brilliant. But yeah, it would be quite weird. I imagine it'll be the weirdest for Anthony, or, well, Jorge might not tap into it too much, but I imagine it'd be the weirdest for Anthony.
Yeah, definitely it will be, because he's training his brother, who's fighting on the same card as one of his former opponents, the guy that took his world title essentially. And now, I know Anthony's a very humble guy, and he wouldn't really say anything bad about absolutely anybody. And it's really good that you've got on that card and you've got that opportunity to fight. What is the plan for you in your mind going forward over these next 12 months? Because I know you've already said, like, look, I won't shy away from a challenge, but I know I might have to face a few journeymen along the way. Where do you want to be this time next year?
This time next year, I'd like to, like you say, I said at the start of this, I wanted to try and get 4 or 5 fights in this year, but with me coming back at that weight and I was losing so much weight over the years, I just had a bit of wear and tear on my hands, and after that last fight I had to rest them, like they was done in. There was no injury or anything like that. It was just, I had a tiny little break, stay in the gym but just not punching, and I'm hoping for a busy end of this year, and by end of next year I'm hoping, I'd love to be 10-0. I'd love to be 10-0. I've done my apprenticeship pretty much on the 6 rounders, done some 8s, and then pushing on to my 10 rounders is what I'm hoping, and whatever comes of them comes with them. But I certainly won't shy away from a step up in the 8 rounders and 6 rounders, definitely not.
No, it's going to be an interesting journey for you, and as I've said it a few times, I think the pressure from the outside will always be there because of your surname, but this is your journey, this is about forging your own path and showing the world that, you know, there isn't just one fighting Crolla, because I know obviously your dad was an absolute fantastic fighter as well, and
my dad could fight.
I don't think a lot of people know that, and I think that's something that, you know, I like to always bring up, but I don't think people know how good your dad was, and then obviously it's passed down to Anthony, and then it's now sort of you're inheriting that title as well. So I know there's probably a little bit of pressure there and a little bit of nerves. You might not want to tell me that, but I must say you've got the best 2 people around to be able to tap into, to get that experience from, and for someone that's been around the sport for so long to be able to know which way to guide you, because I know that's something that a lot of professionals don't always have, is they don't have someone to put a hand over the shoulder and say, you know what, this is where you want to go. So was it a natural choice for you just to go, do you know what, I'm going to stick with my brother because he's been for everything thick and thin, there's nowhere else I'd want to be? Was there any debate about where you were going to go?
Nah, not. I've only ever been trained by Anthony, and just tapping back into why I might have walked away from boxing, Anthony's career started picking up, so we couldn't get in the amateur gym as much, and it was busy, and I've only ever really had him coach me. So to go, I felt like I was doing my own thing. I might have just fell out in love with the sport, and then like you said, then Anthony's happened to win 2 English titles, a British title, international titles, a world title, boxed in unifications. He's been there. He's done everything that any fighter would want to do, turning professional. He's experienced it. He knows what it takes, and not like that, he's probably the best role model in boxing I could have picked. Like, yeah, he's the hardest trainer I've ever seen. Like, a lot of people say about him, he's not, and he won't mind me saying it, Anthony wasn't the most talented fighter ever, but he made up with it in other areas where people lacked in it. He's one of the hardest works I've ever seen, tenacious, gritted, one of the toughest men you'll ever meet, like one of the toughest men you can ever meet, and his work rate was just, it was second to none, and that's something that I didn't have when I was a teenager. And I believe that me realising I didn't have boxing and was just working a normal job, it clicked in my head that I do need that.
Yeah.
I come now, you can ask Hans, I train, I do anything he asks, like I train hard, I live the life now, and it's just how it's got to be. That's just how it is with boxing. If you lack for stuff in certain areas, your hard work always has to be there. Hard work, and weight's a massive thing as well.
Yeah, of course it is. It's difficult. So what have you settled on a weight that you're actually going to be campaigning at now?
So I boxed my last at 11.4 I weighed in. I finished training today, it was 11.6. I'm going down for one this fight. I'm going down to welterweight, see how I feel, because I can in these 4 rounders. I'm able to do so. I'm able to see how I feel and see how it works, but I think welterweight is what I'm going to campaign at.
It's a very competitive division, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, Light State, super well, but no, yeah, of course it is. But just I feel me to have the biggest advantage in me making that welterweight's the weight.
Yeah. So you test the waters, see how you make the weight, see how you get on, then decide from there whether that's, because I mean he's half a stone, isn't it, between super welterweight and welterweight. Yeah. So you've got the opportunity to, if it, you know, you don't feel 100%, you move up, you go back, you try 154, and you go, do you know what?
I was building to that. I hit hard enough for it, but yeah, it's just testing the waters while we can.
Yeah, this is the best time to do it, because you get you're learning, as they say, you're learning fights now, and you get the opportunity to do it. And if you do well down at welter and you're not struggling too much to make the weight, then naturally this is one of the most competitive divisions in the UK, and this is probably where you'll get the most opportunities at this time, because it's really booming at the moment. You've seen some of the fights recently in the UK welterweight division, and you know it's crying out for more people, because people are moving around, people are shifting up in weights, and people are moving on, and then you've got some really big fights potentially on the horizon over the next few years. But in the immediate now, here and now for you, it's about getting as many fights in as you can in this next 12, 18 month period of time. Given what you've seen over your life with your brother and seeing where he's got to, and like you mentioned earlier, you made a really good point, and I've always said this about your brother. I've always said Anthony was never the most talented fighter, but he was the one that had the most heart and determination and tenacity, and he made up for it in those areas. And some will sit there and say he overachieved in his career, and they're probably right, but you've got somebody behind you there where you can say, look, this is where he got to. A few years ago, he didn't, well, not a lot of people felt he was going to get to that level.
Yep.
So for you, in your career, is there a minimum benchmark of where you feel you want to be at? You know, like if you was to go, where we're going to be in 5 years' time from now, what would be the minimum benchmark you want to have achieved by then?
Yeah, I've said in a few interviews before this, when I retire, I just want to have a fight where I've topped a bill and I'm in a 50-50 fight. That's all I want. That's all I can ask. But I'd love to win the British title. I think it's the best belt, and I'd love to win it outright. It's my dad's favourite belt. Anthony didn't win outright, which is something I think he wish he did, and I know my dad wish he always wanted him to do that, but even when he lost against Linares the second time, and I'm sure my dad was asking about the British title then, but I was like, Dad, it's not going to drop down to that, is it? It's just now it is. But no, yeah, I'd love to fight for the British title.
Yeah, this is probably the best belt in the world. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah.
This is the best belt in the world. So British title's like the benchmark for you. Like, that's where you want to go to. But then anything beyond that is just...
No, yeah, of course, I can sit here and say, like, I know all the dreams to be a world champion, but I'm a realist. John, it's not very often you get these world champions, and it's, like you say, how many have we got in England at the minute? I thought everyone just gives this high thing of that's what they want, and I think they forget about the British title and stuff like that. And I think it's a bit disrespected, the British title. I think it's one of the best belts in the sport, and I'd love to win that. Yeah,
no, that's a realistic goal though, isn't it? Like, to not put that much pressure on yourself was to say, do you know what? I'll go for the area, then I go maybe for English, then I maybe go for British.
I'd love to fight for them belts. I'd love to fight for the English titles, win the English title and fight for the British title. And then I'll assess from there if I get to there. But yeah, like you say, like anyone, everyone's got the same goal in boxing, and it's to win titles.
So what, for the benefit of people that don't know sort of what the setup is for you at the moment, like who are you signed with? Who's promoting you? Who's managing you? We obviously know Anthony's training you, but what is the setup for you at the moment?
I'm trained and managed by Anthony. And fighting on, I'll debut the Matchroom fighting there next, and just off a trust basis, like Anthony did. It's just off a trust basis of I'll fight on their shows, and obviously I do well with tickets, so it makes sense. I'm not just on their show because I'm Anthony's little brother, because
that's the stigma that's around that though, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is, but believe that just doesn't generate great money. Like, ticket sales does, and I sell them tickets myself, and that's why I'm on them shows. And obviously the second name is a massive help with that. But so the second one's under the Matchroom banner as well. So yeah.
So is there a potential then, if you continue to impress, perform, that they may actually put something more longer term in place for you?
Yeah, of course there is, but I'll even eye up small hall shows. I don't feel like, say, how can I put it? You have to be busy at this point in my career. You have to be busy, and there's only so many shows these big promoters can put you on there. They're not going to go on every single show.
Of course not.
So I'll hop onto a small hall one where I've got maybe a fight on Matchroom in October. Is it I'm fighting? Yeah, in 5 weeks. If they're not back till Feb, I'll hop on a small hall or show or two, or I'll fight in a small hall, then they're back up, and then I'll fight another one. Not just wait, sit out that time just waiting for them shows, because I'd never turn my nose up at a small hall show. I'd happily fight on them and learn on them. It's all the same.
No, it is, and especially when you're in the position where you have got to sell tickets and you have got to make a certain quota, and that's the way the UK boxing scene works. Like, people that listen to this show, there's a lot of Americans that are absolutely baffled by the fact that this is how the UK boxing scene works. Honestly, the amount of American people that I've spoken to, and you're like, what? The fighters have to sell tickets? I was like, yeah, they have to sell tickets.
Yeah, of course. It has to be funded by the big broadcasters because, well, America's massive, isn't it? It's like one of their states is the size of the UK, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. I wish it was like that, but so the ins and outs.
So what's the support been like? Naturally, you were always going to get it because you're Anthony Crolla's brother, but you've got your own set of friends, you've got your own people that have been following you people that have seen your own journey in the amateurs, and then you're coming back to boxing. What has the reception been like from people around you?
No, it's been brilliant. I can't thank them enough. I've done a great amount of them for my debut, and I'm doing the same in October. I can't thank my friends and family enough who pay for them tickets, but it's been good. It's been good. It's just felt like a long time coming for me, and like a lifetime awaiting, especially for my, like, say, the debut, like you say, at the arena. When I said I didn't feel any nerves, I did, but like I enjoy it, and I enjoy having, how can I put it, expectations on me from my friends or my family. Like if I get beat, they can't go watch me anymore. Or the nights that I used to joke about with my mates and say, like, I'll have boxing nights back, and then I have now. So like, it's a bit of pressure, just stupid pressure like that. But like, yeah, just stuff like that.
Do you feel like you've got something to prove? Is there like this sort of stigma for you? Like, I know I've got something to prove, but is it something that you prove to yourself and not because other people tell you you've got to prove it to yourself?
I feel I've got something to prove to myself and to Anthony, the work he puts in with me. Like, I don't ever want to be a wasted talent. I'm not going to be. But I couldn't have sat there in the pub when I was 30 with a pint watching the boxing, which I will do because I love boxing. I watch it all the time, but I couldn't have sat there and thought, oh, I should have given that a go. Like, I had to somehow find my way back into professional boxing, or, well, professional boxing as a whole, but professional especially. I had to find my way there just so I could have a crack at it. And I feel like I've got something to prove to myself to do something, definitely. Yeah,
well, you've certainly got the opportunity to do so, and it's going to be really good watching your journey. And one of the biggest things about this sport and people at your level who are just really starting out is actually getting that support from people around you, but then also getting that support to actually finance it. That's one of the biggest issues, is paying for your medicals and paying for all the equipment you need, the clothes, the trainers, everything you have to get.
Yeah.
It always comes from getting the sponsorships on board as well. So have you got those in place? Is there certain companies, certain people that are actually helping you?
Yeah, I've got sponsors, and I can't thank them enough. A&M Installations, GB Recruitment, Mawson, they allowed me to be a full-time athlete, and that's something. So the start of last year, I quit a full-time job. I saved money up so I could do this because there's another way of doing it. I was scaffolding. I couldn't go and do a full day's graft and come in here and put a full session in and feel like I was getting the most out of that session. So I made the choice to quit my job, and I threw all my eggs into this basket. Like, just before my debut, I went all out skint. Like, I was feeling it, so that I had nothing left. I was skint, but it was just all worth it. Like now, like I'm living the dream I've always thought I was gonna live. It's good.
So in terms of like the people that are sponsoring you, you've given them a great shout out, which is really good. And those that do want to get in touch with you, like if there's anybody that listens and thinks, you know what, I want to support another Crolla on this journey throughout boxing, what's the best thing for them to do? How can they get in touch with you?
Hit me up on my social media. I'm always on my phone. Whether it's Twitter or Instagram or TikTok, I'm always on my phone. So just hit me up on them.
Well, you know what, Will, it's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed having you on the show, and thank you so much for coming on, and best of luck for the future. Maybe one day we'll come back to this and see where the journey is then.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. Yeah, that'll be one of the good ones to watch. Is